Every year, California burns. The air becomes hard to breathe, the sun disappears, the hills glow like a furnace, and the skyline looks like the end of the world. It's become normal and sort of expected, like the changing of seasons. Except, this season isn't nature, it's negligence. From the vineyards of Napa to the forests of paradise, from Santa Rosa to San Diego, the story repeats itself along the entire state of California. Different names, different years, same spark. 2017, the Tubbs Fire tears through Northern California. 2018, the Camp Fire wipes an entire town off the map. 2020, the Glass Fire and the Creek Fire. 2021, the Dixie Fire burns nearly 1 million acres. And 2025, the Altadena and Palisades fires. Year after year, the same flames, the same heartbreak, the same excuses. And these are just a few. In January, Altadena burned. A fire so fast, residents had minutes to run. And at the time of this video's release, investigators have stated it was caused by Southern California Edison. And at the same time as this fire, the Palisades burned. Homes reduced to dust, with just the chimneys remaining overlooking the ocean. And this fire has been deemed as arson. Different causes, same outcome, same issue. Families displaced, businesses destroyed, and lives were upended. So we asked the same question we've been asking for decades. Why does this keep happening? Is it the power companies? Billion-dollar utilities like PG&E and SCE, whose aging equipment and lackluster maintenance ignite like matchsticks every summer? Is it the state, buried under bureaucracy, lawsuits, and greedy politicians, failing to clear brush it's legally required to manage while having the highest tax rate of any state in the country? Or is it us, the people who build and rebuild in high-risk zones because it's home, because the view is worth the risk, because we don't think it'll ever happen to us, even if we know we can't afford the insurance? So we underinsure, only to complain about the aftermath. The truth is, it's all of the above, but only one of them profits when it burns. Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, powers more than 16 million Californians. But it's not just a utility company. It's one of the most infamous corporate offenders in modern history. Over the last decade, PG&E's equipment has sparked more than 30 major wildfires. 30 times, the same company found liable for ignition disasters that killed people, destroyed towns, and poisoned the air for millions. And every time, the pattern repeats. They apologize, they pay a fine, they promise to do better, then they light the fuse again. In 2018, the Camp Fire leveled Paradise, a quiet town in the Sierra Nevada foothills. 85 people died. More than 18,000 structures burned to the ground. It caused over $16.5 billion in damage, one of the deadliest, most destructive wildfires in California's history. The cause? A worn steel hook on a transmission tower, built a century ago, that PG&E knew needed replacement. They didn't fix it. It snapped, it sparked, and it killed. When investigators traced the cause back to that tower, PG&E didn't deny it. They couldn't. Instead, they pled guilty to 84 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Think about that. An American corporation guilty of killing 84 people, and not one executive went to jail. Instead, they filed for bankruptcy. Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's not accountability, it's escape. A legal reset button that allowed PG&E to erase billions in debts, restructure its image, and keep operating as if nothing happened. They didn't go out of business, they went back to business. The victims, the people who lost everything, were told they'd be made whole. PG&E announced a massive $13.5 billion settlement. Justice, right? Except only half was cash. The other half was PG&E's stock. You heard that right. The same company that burned their homes down gave them stock in that company as compensation. Imagine watching your home burn, your family displaced, and then being told your recovery depends on the stock performance of the company that caused it. That's not restitution. That's extortion disguised as empathy. To emerge from bankruptcy, PG&E created what's now known as the Fire Victim Trust, funded with $5.4 billion in cash and 22% of its common stock. The idea? Victims would get payouts as the trust sold off PG&E shares over time. But when the stock price dropped, so did their future. Executives got fluffy bonuses. Victims got volatility. Even years later, many families are still waiting to be paid in full. The trust is still liquidating stock, still cashing cash, still trying to make people whole, while the company that caused their pain is already profitable again and making no changes. And it doesn't stop there. The $13.5 billion was just one side of the story. PG&E also paid out another $11 billion to insurance companies to settle what are called subrogation claims. Reimbursement for payouts insurers made to victims. Let that sink in. The insurance companies got their money before the victims did. Billions to corporations first, people second. In California, that's what justice looks like. Since 2015, PG&E equipment has been linked to more than 1,500 fires. They've paid over $25 billion in settlements and penalties, and yet somehow they're still operating, because no matter how many times they burn, they're too essential to fail. So we're left here again, watching California burn again. And when the next fire starts, whether it's in Altadena, the Palisades, or Paradise, you'll hear the same words. We're investigating. We're improving safety. We're committed to our residents. But nothing changes, because until someone actually pays the price, California will keep burning. The politicians will get their big photo ops and big meaningless speeches, and the people who light the match will keep cashing checks. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. California's wildfire crisis isn't a tragedy anymore. It's an economy, a system built on destruction, fueled by negligence, and funded by you. Every time a fire starts, the cycle begins again. The power company blames the weather. The state blames everyone but themselves. The insurers are forced to raise premiums, and the people, the ones who lose everything, are told to fill out paperwork, file a claim, and wait. The only constant is that someone always profits, and it's not us. Let's go back to the Fire Victim Trust, the supposed beacon of justice after PG&E's bankruptcy. When it launched, it was worth over $13.5 billion on paper, but paper burns too, because half of the settlement was PG&E stock, a gamble no victim agreed to take. As the trust sold off shares, the stock price dropped. Every sale meant less value for the victims, less justice. By the time most families saw their first checks, the value of the trust had already fallen by billions. Some survivors of the Camp Fire, people who lost their homes, their loved ones, everything, got checks that barely covered funeral costs. Others are still waiting, this many years later. The trust that was meant to be a lifeline instead became a symbol of how easily justice can be repackaged, diluted, and sold. PG&E isn't the only player in this story. Southern California Edison has been linked to dozens of fires too, including this year's Altadena fire. San Diego Gas and Electric sparked the 2007 witch fire that destroyed more than 1,000 homes. The pattern stretches across the state. These companies aren't competitors, they're reflections of each other. Corporate giants powering most of California and responsible for most of its destruction. And yet, no matter how many times they're blamed, fined, or sued, they stay in business. Why? Because the system is built to protect them. And the politicians who say they really care don't care all that much. And their actions, or really lack of actions, prove it. Utility companies are legally allowed to pass the cost of their settlements and penalties onto the ratepayers. That means when they pay victims, they're paying with your money. So every time you pay your electric bill, part of that goes towards covering the cost of the last fire they caused. Maybe even the one that burned down your home. You're not just a customer. You're an involuntary investor in corporate negligence. And if you think this is history, it's not, because the same pattern has already repeated itself. In January 2025, 2 new fires tore through Southern California. The Altadena fire started in the foothills of northern Pasadena, spreading fast through dry brush and canyon winds. Entire neighborhoods were forced to evacuate overnight. Hundreds of homes were damaged or destroyed. And at pretty much the same time, smoke rose again just over 20 miles away, this time over the Pacific. The Palisades fire erupted in Los Angeles' coastal hills, burning through multi-million-dollar homes, shutting down PCH and forcing thousands to flee. Different causes, same aftermath. Families displaced, power lines down, insurance claims piling up. The names change: Edison, arsonists, PG&E, high winds, but the outcome doesn't. And maybe that's the real story here. No matter who strikes the match, California keeps burning for the same reasons. Neglected infrastructure, overgrown hillsides, and a system more interested in assigning blame than fixing risk. The fires of 2025 aren't new chapters. They're sequels. And unfortunately, they won't be the last. Proof that for all the settlements, hearings, and promises, nothing underneath has changed. These latest fires are reminders, not of nature's power, but of our refusal to learn. Until someone finally breaks this cycle, California isn't recovering from wildfires. It's rehearsing for the next one. And what about the government? For decades, California has known that there are millions of acres of dry brush waiting to ignite. The state has entire agencies tasked with managing that risk, clearing vegetation, building defensible space, and enforcing safety standards. And yet, year after year, those same agencies admit they're millions of acres behind schedule. Funds get diverted, projects stall, politics slows everything down. Yet somehow, all of the assigned tax dollars get spent or pocketed. And when a fire breaks out, the state blames climate change, a convenient scapegoat that absolves them of responsibility. Yes, climate change makes fires worse, but climate change didn't make PG&E ignore maintenance. Climate change didn't make Edison's equipment fail. Human failure did. Corporate greed did. Political apathy did. California spends billions fighting fires, but pennies preventing them. Every year, the state touts new budgets, new task forces, new legislation, but every year, it burns away. And then there's insurance. the invisible hand that cleans up after every disaster. Not because it wants to, but because it has to. After the Camp Fire and the Tubbs Fire, insurers paid out tens of billions to homeowners and businesses. Entire towns were rebuilt with that money. But here's what most people don't realize. The system forces those companies to chase recovery too. When they sue utilities like PG&E, it isn't all greed, it's survival. If they don't recover those losses, their state-mandated reserves collapse. And the next fire leaves everyone without coverage. PG&E ultimately settled those subrogation claims for $11 billion. On paper, that looks like corporations paying corporations. But in reality, it was the only way to keep California's insurance market from imploding. Because it isn't just about profit. It's about balance sheets, regulators, and risk models that punish any company that doesn't recover what it's been forced to spend by negligence. And even with those recoveries, the math still doesn't work. Wildfire losses are outpacing premiums by billions every year. That's why premiums are skyrocketing. That's why State Farm and Allstate have stopped writing new policies. And that's why Farmers is the only company really writing new policies in California. It's not greed driving them out, it's basic math. More than 1 million Californians are now being pushed into the state's last resort FAIR Plan coverage, a safety net funded by the very companies trying to leave. The same companies many call villains while ignoring the utilities that sparked the fires, the ones we keep paying every month without question, and the politicians we re-elect year after year who promise change and deliver excuses. It's a closed loop, a system where everyone pays more, no one truly wins, and the fires just keep coming. At this point, fire isn't just a natural disaster, it's an asset class. Every spark triggers a cascade of money. Insurance claims, lawsuits, settlements, infrastructure contracts, government grants. The destruction of California has become one of its largest industries. For every victim rebuilding their home, there's a contractor, consultant, or fund manager cashing in on the rubble and ashes. And for PG&E, fires become a predictable cost of doing business. And they've learned that in California, accountability has a price, and it's one that they can afford. But for the people who live here, the cost is something money can't measure. Ask anyone who's survived one of these fires, and they'll tell you. It's not just the homes you lose, it's the years, the photos, and the smell of smoke that just never really goes away. Thousands of families are still living in temporary housing from fires that happened 5 years ago. Children grew up in motels while PG&E executives cashed in bonuses. And every time a new fire starts, those same families have to relive the same nightmare. This isn't a tragedy anymore. It's a business model. And in the business of fire, the victims are always the smallest shareholders. So what's the answer? Who's to blame? Is it the utilities, the government, or is it both of them? Each playing their part in a system that rewards destruction more than prevention. California's wildfires aren't accidents. They're the byproduct of greed, neglect, and a system designed to protect itself. And until someone breaks that cycle, until the people responsible face real consequences, we'll keep watching the same story on repeat.